you have questions. And we do want to make sure that you are not afraid to ask questions. Throughout the session today, Kara said she will be handling the chat and she is a beast at it. So please make sure that you put any questions, any concerns that you might have right in the chat box. And like we said before, we just want to reiterate it, whether you call it a parking lot, a discussion board, or the Zoom chat box, please put your questions, your concerns, and your wondering in the chat box. And we actually learned something the other day at a training we all participated in as not just trainers, but we also were participants. They had people in the chat box put the word question before they typed their question. So if you really know this is a question that you want us to answer, you want Kara to address, feel free to type the word question before you type the question in the chat box. So also, we want to make sure you have a little bit of an idea of what we're doing today. So this training, along with the other ones in our Blitz, we are just here for an hour. So we have a short amount of time to talk about a lot of different things. So these are really more of an overview. We're not going to really go too in depth with what we're doing. It's really an overview. And we'll talk a little bit later about if you want to go deeper in this topic or some of the other topics we're doing during this December training blitz. We will talk about some other opportunities that you and maybe even your whole entire staff can participate in, where we can go a lot more deeper than we are going with these particular hour-long training sessions. But in today's session, we really want to start off by talking about, how can you use data to help you make decisions regarding what to teach and reteach with your expectations. We're also going to talk about how the school-wide matrix plays into those decisions. And we're also going to talk about creating a planning guide and even sharing with you a lesson planning template that you'll be able to use to kind of plan some, reteaching or reteaching lessons regarding the expectations. We're also going to talk about behavior-specific praise and how you can utilize and create a behavior reinforcement schedule to make sure that you have a plan for the behaviors that you want to reinforce. And then finally, we're going to have a reflection and a wrap-up. But during that reflection and wrap-up, there is one thing we really want you to be waiting for, and that is the bit.ly resource link that we're going to put into the chat. So it's a bit.ly link. You're going to click on it and hopefully favorite it, because we're going to have all the things you're probably wanting to take away from this session right there. So if you're like, are you guys recording? Yes, we're recording. And we're putting a link right there on that resource page. You're probably asking, can I have this PowerPoint? Yes, you sure can. That will be on that resource page as well. And guess what? Not only the resources for this particular training session, but the resources for the other two topics that we're talking about during this December training blitz will be on that same resource page or link. So you might be saying, oh, I missed the one about the virtual learning environment. Guess what? The resources are right there, including a link to a recording of the session that you can utilize if you so choose. So don't worry, we are recording and you will be able to get access to it and all the wonderful resources by clicking on that bit.ly resource link. And we will give that to you during the reflection and wrap up time.
So we want to start first on why use PBIS rewards, and we're really going to focus on that part that is data and reporting today. So our system collects that data and provides those reports on different points that are awarded, major and minor referrals, social emotional learning checks, and then the fidelity of your implementation of PBIS. So those drill down reports are also going to be available, and that's really what we're going to focus on today and give you some examples of how you can drill down with those reports and pinpoint specific information about your school and your students and utilize that to make data-driven decisions about your school-wide PBIS and individual student interventions. So that'll really be our focus today.
So, we said before, the important thing to do before you decide which expectations you need to be teaching or reteaching is to look at your data. And actually, PBIS Rewards is a wonderful tool to be able to give you specific data to help you really be able to make good decisions regarding what to teach and what to reteach. So, for example, there is one particular report that you can generate within the PBIS Rewards staff web portal, and it's called Today's points by expectation. I'm not going to talk too much about it right now because Anna's actually going to let us go into the system live and see how that report works and how you can drill down. But this particular report, by clicking on the reports tab from the main menu, going to the point reports, and then clicking on today's points by expectation, can show you which areas or expectations are we giving the students points for the most, and which areas or expectations are we giving the students the points for the least. In this particular snapshot, we can tell that we're giving them points mostly for what? Respect. But what are we kind of not giving a whole lot of points, if any, in? It looks like it's the expectation of safety that the students aren't being awarded a lot of points for. Why is that? Well, now we can go back into the system and look at some other reports to help us really figure out what's going on. So if you are utilizing the ARS add-on to the PBIS Rewards system, the Advanced Referral System, and that is an add-on for an additional fee, you can see discipline data. And so you can now look into that particular data, the referrals reports, to figure out what's really going on here while the students aren't getting points in the safety area. So you could click on the referral report about the major problem behaviors. And just looking at this snapshot, we can tell that repeated minor is kind of what's going on. See those repeated minor behaviors? So that's really where we're getting the highest amount of the behavior issues, okay? And so what we can do now is drill down even further and look at a referral report that's looking at what minors are happening over and over and over again that are then rolling into majors. So then we would go to that one, and we can see here that it's the disruptive behaviors. And so now from this point, we can say we can even drill down further and look to specific students. But instead of me just talking about these reports, let's go ahead and see these reports in the system. Anna?
Absolutely. So I am going to share a new screen now in PBIS Rewards and show you how we got to these reports and how we can kind of drill down to those specific topics that India was talking about. So here in the web portal, I am just on the very first page, the reward page, when you get started. And so I'm going to come all the way down to this tab on the left that says reports. So when I select reports, it's going to take me here to my very first dashboard. And this dashboard can be customized. You can see over here on the right side, I have favorited specific reports that I like to see often. And just like when you favorite groups, you can favorite reports the same way. You just click the orange star that's in the right-hand corner, and it'll appear here on your very first dashboard for you to be able to see. This gives you some basic information, but we know that we really want to look at our points that are being given away, and then we also want to drill down into those referrals. So I am going to go over here on the left-hand side to the point reports. And so that's the first one that we looked at. So today I can see that at my school, we have awarded 456 points. And then this is that report that India was talking about, today's points by expectation. So when I click on details, it's going to bring up the next window for me. And so this window is going to be those points by expectation. You can see it's a little different than yesterday's, but very similar. So you can see respect and responsibility are getting those points, but with safety, we don't have as many points. So that would cause us to have a discussion then. Why are we not doing that? So if my school is virtual, maybe we aren't giving as many points with safety because we're all working virtually. And do we need to look then and decide what does safety look like virtually so that we could then award points in that category? Because we know, of course, safety is important when we talk about digital citizenship and being safe in that virtual environment. So that would be a good way to address that concern. So this you can also see allows us to drill down to specific groups that I have, grade levels, and it tells me how their points are broken down. And if I want to see which group has received the most respect points, then all I have to do is click on this down arrow, and then it's going to sort it. You can see this group Odyssey 2 has gotten the most points, 213. So these little arrows allow you to sort by that topic. So don't forget about those because they're really a fantastic way to be able to change your views. So that was our first insight. So then when we started to think about what we could do with that, then we went to the next tab down here, back on our page on intervention reports, or excuse me, referral reports, next one. And so those are looking at our major and minor behaviors. And as India said, if you are using our advanced referral system, that gives you that information. And so here on the dashboard, you can see it's trending, what our trend is today, our major versus our minor, kind of how that compares. And this is really data that I'd want to see. I would want to see more minor referrals and less major referrals, because then we are taking care of those behavioral concerns at a minor level before they make it to major. So that's a good trend to see. But we were looking here at this major by problem behaviors and trying to decide what we needed to address. So again, when I click on details, it's going to bring up that next topic for me. And these are those repeated minor behaviors. And underneath that category, if I wanted to see who are the students that keep having those repeated minor behaviors, I can click right here on that, and it brings up those students for me. And I can immediately click on these students, and I can drill down to that specific student. So I'm just going to do that as one example, this student, Blake. And it brings up all of Blake's information, including the points that Blake has received, interventions as far as check-in, check-out, SEL checks, the number of major and minor referrals, and then graphs that are available. So what's happening with major problems? Oh, it is repeated minor behaviors. I can look at the minor behaviors over here that it's disruptive. And then I can look at even day and time. So you can see on that student, I can really drill down and see what's going on. So maybe we're having an issue in a specific class, or Mondays are really hard for this student. Coming back after the weekend is difficult. So that allows you then to see, well, maybe it's not Mondays, but look, I have a huge spike Friday, and this looks like at lunchtime. So is there something going on at lunch on Fridays? So you can absolutely look at all those different things that are here for that specific student, really drilling down with them. So yes, go ahead.
I was going to say, when you kind of finish this, when you get to a stopping point, we do have a question that I think would be great to address. And the question is, are there any reports for your own classroom? So if you don't have admin rights, what is some of the data that you can see? And, you know, how can a user see how many points they've given out to the class? So after you kind of get through here, if you want to help take in that direction, I think that'd be really helpful.
Sure. So the last thing we just wanted to look at is those minor problems, because that gives us more insight. And you can see that is a report that's down here at the bottom. And then these are the little orange stars that I can click, and I can favorite that, and it'll appear on my very first dashboard. So I'm going to favorite that one. And then again, this is one of those reports that we could see that disruptive behavior, and I can look at exactly who those students are by clicking the number at the top here. So the other thing I do want to call your attention to is that you can look at it over a specific time period, and then also different groups. This is looking at all students right now at the school, or I can look at specific groups of students as well, or even grade levels. So lots of insights here to make decisions. So when we are looking back at the different reports, if you are in the teacher view, for the point reports, I'm going to go back to that. You would have this information on how many points you've given out for the day, and also by expectation. So there's going to be many charts here and graphs and pieces of data that you could use as a teacher here on the points page. You could also access the intervention reports if you have any students that are on check-in, check-out. So that information, some of this will be available now. Not all of this would, because this, again, we have admin access here. but you could look at your redeem reports, what's being redeemed in your store, your events, your raffles, those kind of things. So all of these are going to be accessed on the teacher side as well. Kara, is there anything else on the teacher side that you can think of that's a good one to share?
Not this time.
Okay, okay. So again, those are just on the reports. And then again, as a teacher, you can favorite those those reports that you like to see, and those will appear here on your favorites.
I think you could also show them maybe, Anna, from the main menu.
Yes.
Under the groups, you can see points overview, and you can look at their activity. So there are a couple places there where they could see that without having to get into a reports feature if they needed to.
So here in groups, I'm going to go into one of my groups. And then I can, I'm going to select all my students and go to this button right here that says point details. And so I can see my students giving them those details about how many points they have right now, their daily points over this grading period, year to date, and then their balance. So this is also going to be information that will be visible here on that groups page. Can provide you a little insight. Again, like we have said, if you attended any of our other sessions, if you're in doubt, go to the groups page just to get started.
And then show them my activity just so they see that too. I think that would help address a couple of the questions.
Okay.
On that left side, yep.
Kara, I don't know where, oh, right here, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right there.
So this next tab down,
Yep, when users select this, you can see kind of who you've given. You can look at the different groups. You can look at the different students, the date. So if you're curious, like I can't remember if I gave India a point earlier today, I was going to do that later. You can do that as well here. So
that's under this tab right here, this My
yes.
Activity tab.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Okay. So we are going to go back here, and then we're going to talk next about school-wide matrix and expectations. So once you've drilled down at your reports, looking at how you can utilize that information then. Oh, this is me. Sorry, I forgot. So making those connections with your school-wide matrix, these are a couple of prompting questions that we thought were helpful too when you are looking back at those expectations that you have listed in your matrix. Remember, your school-wide matrix and those expectations really equate to your consistency for your school. So when we're talking about the why are we seeing these behaviors, we're looking at the function of the behaviors. And we're looking at what do the expectations do we, as far as focusing on those, referring back to that data. When do we explicitly teach these? We really have to schedule that time out and make intentional blocks of time to reteach it. And then the last part on the how, planning for that lesson delivery and that modeling for our students as well. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that. So here is an example of one of our matrix, and it has a specific column that's been added here for remote learning and working in that virtual environment. So when we were looking at our data, we really focused on that responsibility piece and targeting those specific behaviors that were revealed when we reviewed the data. So when we're looking at responsibility, we're going to pull out that part of our matrix and focus on what are the expectations that we are struggling with. So we had disruptive behaviors. So when we looked at those minor behaviors, they were things like being on time, muting yourself, and removing distractions. So when we focus on those, then that's going to help us take our next step, which is going to be planning our lessons and setting our calendar for how we're going to teach those specific skills. Remember, with PBIS, just like if you have a deficit in an academic area, this is the same thing with behavior. We're going to go back and reteach it until we have reached that mastery level. And so that's the same thing that we're going to do here on the behavior side. So when we look at that lesson planning and the calendar, we have this lesson planning template for you, and it's very simple. And of course, you can take it and make it your own and really personalize it. But with this template, you really want to focus on one expectation. So we decided here to focus on responsibility, that was going to be our skills set that we're going to work on. So in this one, you could use, there are lots of different examples that are here. We decided to use a Venn diagram with this one. And the behavior that we really wanted to focus on is the behaviors in our Zoom room and in our breakout rooms, because that's where we're having those behaviors come up most often. And so in the teach piece, then we're having the teacher demonstrate and modeling those behaviors. So the teacher is going to talk about examples and non-examples. So you can see here, staying on mute, using the chat appropriately. And then for our non-examples, that would be like talking when others are sharing, or talking to other people in my house while I'm not on mute, or I'm in there having distracting statements in the chat. So all of those are great ways to show our students, and that's a great discussion point also that the teacher can have with the student about examples and non-examples. So then that's when the class would move into their practice. So they're going to complete the Venn diagram. And then that gives the teacher directions on how to complete this. They can use the whiteboard feature in the Zoom session that they're in and discussing those acceptable and unacceptable behaviors. And our expectations go right in the center because, of course, we always have those as our consistent piece. So these lessons can be very short and concise. They can be 10 minutes and very short for teachers to be able to utilize this information and then reteach their class those expectations, and helping us to make sure we're back on the same page as far as getting back to those expectations on our matrix. So, and this is something teachers could count as a grade, have it count as double duty. So we're doing it in class and then count it as a grade. And there can be some variety, of course, with the lessons. We know that teachers are going to personalize things, but we do like some consistent information. So this can be things that students may hear when they are attending class with their band teacher about what does responsibility look like in band. And then they also are going to hear it from their science teacher, so that they are having that consistency across all of those classes. And when you are planning out your schedule, this is a suggestion. So we know right now in December, things are really crazy. And sometimes we see an escalation in behaviors the closer and closer we get to a break. We know those countdown calendars happen all over the place, not only for students, but especially for our staff members. We know we're all ready, but this is a way in January when you come back, how can we utilize that time when we initially come back from a break? It is a natural reset. And let's use those days to really plan out reteaching and acknowledging those different behaviors that we are working towards. So let's spend 2 days on respect, 2 days on responsibility, and 1 day on safety. So we're using that data to really make our decision. So again, those lessons can be nice and short, and then we're getting consistent information from all classes, not just from their one homeroom teacher as an example. So each day is a specific focus, and then we really pour those points on. We are scanning those QR codes if we're virtual or in class, we're scanning those badges, and we're really giving those points when students are following those expectations and letting them know, I notice you're following expectations. We're reinforcing that those skills are being displayed. And students are really making the right choice, and they're really making an effort to follow those expectations. All right, any questions that came up in the chat or anything? Okay. All righty, so, all right, India. Now I'm gonna kick it over to you about behavior specific praise. This is your jam.
This is my jam. And so, you know, a really important part of teaching and reteaching expectations is making sure that we have behavior specific praise and a behavior reinforcement schedule on lock. Okay. Just with PBIS in general, people often ask, so am I supposed to give points to my students every day for bringing their books or coming in the room quietly or muting themselves? And the answer is absolutely yes, we are. And I'll be honest, I was that teacher that it was very hard for me in the beginning. I'm not going to tell my age, but I've been teaching a long time. And at first I was like, well, this is what they were supposed to do. Why should we have to call it out every time? And why should we have to give points? Well, because it truly is the right thing to do. Everybody needs to be acknowledged. Everyone needs to hear from time to time, I see you. I hear you. I appreciate you. And so, yes, definitely, we need to let our students know when we see them doing the correct expectations, exhibiting the right behaviors, and then give them points for that. Now, just by a show of hands, use the reaction button or just, raise your hand with your camera on. How many of you are a part of a rewards program? Okay, maybe Starbucks, Chick-fil-A. Go ahead. Yeah, I see thumbs up. I see hands up. Absolutely. So, hey, guess what? We show great positive behavior by going into these places, spending our money with a smile. And you know what they do to acknowledge us? They often give us a smile back. They often give us wonderful service, wonderful products or food. And then they give us points if you're in their reward system. And then we can use those points to get free stuff, right? Doesn't it feel good when we're acknowledged for the things that we're doing? So that's exactly what we're doing with the just with the whole concept of PBIS, but especially when we're looking at behavior specific praise and looking at behavior reinforcement. So let's just review a little bit about behavior specific praise. So we here, at PBIS Rewards, we really feel like it needs to have two pieces to it. Not only do you tell the student about the positive behavior that you observed, how you saw them truly act out the expectation, but then you also want to tell them how seeing that makes you feel. Okay? So, two parts, tell them how it made you feel and tell them what you saw. So, for example, if you're teaching a virtual session, you have a student, Johnny, who constantly does not mute. He's constantly blurting out. You hear his mama talking to him in the background. He does not mute. But for whatever reason today, he is muted. He is focused. He is listening. He is with you. And so this is a perfect opportunity for you to give Johnny praise and points. So you can say, Johnny, I noticed that you are muted at the correct times and you are focused in our learning session today. And you know how that makes me feel, Johnny? It makes me feel so proud and it makes me feel so respected. Thank you for doing that. I'm going to give you points. And the great thing is, if you're using the PBIS reward system, you don't even have to call Johnny out and give him that praise verbally in front of everyone. You could actually, when you give him the points within the PBIS reward system, you can just include a comment where you then can type in, Johnny, you've been on mute all the appropriate times today. It makes me feel proud and respected when you do that. Thank you. So you can also utilize the PBS reward system to actually type out your behavior specific praise. Now, we do just want to say, as far as scheduling out behavior specific praise, it needs to be done every day, all day. Okay? So whenever you see the students doing the correct things, following the expectations, definitely in some way give them some behavior specific praise. Whether you type it in a private message to them in the chat, whether you call them and tell them and their family, whether you actually say it aloud in front of the other people. Whatever you do, or even just add it as a comment to the points within the PBIS rewards system. Whatever you do, make sure that you somehow let them know that you see them doing the right thing and let them know how that makes you feel. And some students may not at first feel comfortable with that. They may be in a situation where they don't get a whole lot of positive praise. They may not be used to getting compliments and thank yous and being caught doing the right thing. And so just continue to do it from an authentic place. And the more you give that behavior specific praise, not only will they become more comfortable with it, but guess what? They'll start using it with each other and with their classmates as well. So just continue to every day be very mindful to utilize behavior specific praise with your students. And right after you give them the praise, make sure to give them the points. Another thing that we often have people ask about, well, I'm just not a touchy-feely kind of person. What words do you use? Carol always says, India, you always know the words to use. That is not my tendency to be all fuzzy. So guess what? We got something for you. And it will be included in that bit.ly resource page that we are going to be giving you in just a few moments. This is a list of different I feel words that work really well when you're talking to primary elementary students or when you might be talking or communicating with middle school and high school students. So just, you don't have to think too hard if you're not a touchy-feely, warm and fuzzy person. Just use the list that we're going to have included on that resource page. Anna and Kara, before we kind of move on from behavior specific praise, is there anything the two of you want to add about behavior specific praise?
No, I loved everything you said. All good.
So just remember though, behavior specific praise needs to be done every single day. Now, the other thing you want to schedule is going to be how you're going to reinforce the behaviors that you all want and need to not only see, but to model. Okay. The big thing about PBIS, it's not just something that you teach, but then you do you because you're grown. No, we teach by modeling. So everything we're expecting the students to do, we need to do as well. You may have noticed even us as trainers, we were muting ourselves when we were not speaking. Or you may have noticed that, we tried to be on time today. So whatever you're asking of the students, you want to make sure that you're modeling that as well. So Anna already talked about, especially as you go back into January, into school after winter break, maybe plan to have a blitz as a whole school, a school-wide blitz, where you're going to have certain days that you're going to reteach and acknowledge the expectations from your matrix, okay? And you can have a specific theme for each day that goes with those expectations. So that's kind of week one. It's school-wide. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's learning those lessons you planned. Everybody's doing great, getting points. That's week one when you come back after winter break. Now, week two, this is where you can start planning how you want to reinforce certain behaviors that after looking at your data, need to be retaught or taught. Okay. So just using the example we had before, we knew staying on mute was an issue, right? So what you do on that first week after the blitz, you start making it rain with positive, specific praise, behavior specific praise, and with points for that particular expectation. So every time anybody is staying on mute, you're like, oh, Johnny, you are staying on mute. Points for that. Oh, Kara, look at you staying on mute at the appropriate times. Points for that. So you want to make it rain over that whole first week, really reinforcing that behavior of staying on mute. Now, the next week, we're going to kind of pull back a little bit because what we're trying to do, y'all, we're trying to build habits, right? So we're modeling mute at the appropriate time. We're giving points for that. We're acknowledging that. So now we kind of scale back. Maybe instead of doing that all day, all 5 days of the week, maybe now in this next week, we only really focus on that 2 days. And then on those other 3, we're going to reinforce the next expectation that we know the students were struggling with when we looked at the data. So now we're going to introduce being on time. So every time on those days the students are really being on time, you're giving them points for that. You're acknowledging that. You're calling them out. You're whooping them for that. Okay, reinforcing that behavior. And so then on week 4, we're going to do that same pattern where the one that we did over the 3 days the week before, we're going to kind of scale back and just do it 2 of the days of the next week. And then we can introduce that other, we noticed it was removing distractions from the data. That's the next expectation we really need to teach or reteach to make sure that the students are creating these habits. So you know the old saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so what we're doing with encouraging you all to really think about creating a behavior reinforcement schedule is basically just reminding you to reinforce those expectations that students may need some reminders about. So we're hoping that something like a schedule that you create will help you to do that. And guess what? A blank one and the example schedule we've showed right now will be on that bit.ly. So don't worry, you'll be able to create your own as well as to see the example that we're sharing right here in today's presentation.
So we know that like we talked about, this is an overview of the training. But if you would like a more in-depth training on PBIS rewards and really digging deeper and looking at all the different features and functions that PBIS Rewards has to offer. We really would love for you to join us at our next expedition training, which is a 3-day virtual training. Indy and I lead that, and it is kind of a hybrid training, so that the day starts and ends with short Zoom sessions with Sche and I about the day, and then we bookend at the end of the day, kind of hitting the high points, and then the middle of the day is the time is given back to you to watch different video modules about the different parts and pieces of PBIS Rewards. So that is a really great way to gain that additional information that is a much deeper level of understanding than we can pack in an hour. So that is going to be offered, like we said, in February, and then that one is $95 a person. The great thing about that too is that it's not just 3 days really. You actually have 2 weeks to really finish out with all the modules. The 3 days are just the live Zoom sessions that you would complete with Indy and I, but you really have quite a bit longer to complete those video modules. If that might be difficult for you, we also have those same modules that are offered in what we call our voyage. So that is going to be more self-paced. You have 2 weeks to review those modules, and that is open at any time that you want to do that. And that one is only $25. So those options, sometimes what we have a lot of schools do is that the PBIS lead or the PBIS coach attends the expedition. And then sometimes other members of the PBIS lead team may attend the voyage. And it just depends on how they structure that as a school. But that means that you will get consistent information across for everyone that goes through those trainings, because they are the same modules. So we did want to share that with you about those options that are coming up. We have shared with this and about this. We're so excited to now have a Facebook user group. We have some members in here today. If you want to give us a thumbs up, either on the screen or in the reactions, if you're in our PBIS Rewards, or excuse me, our breakout room. And if you have not joined, please feel free to use the camera on your phone to scan that QR code and join us. That is a place that we really are looking for feedback from our customers with PBIS Rewards. If you're not a PBIS Rewards customer yet, you can still join us there. There's a couple of questions to answer to join the break room, but we also roll out new features there. We provide what we call Freebie Fridays. We look for your opinions. It's direct feedback too with Indy and I and Kara. So we would love for you to join us there and keep that connection going.
And many of you may be saying, oh my gosh, it just went so fast. You know, I can't remember how I get to that report. I can't remember how to do this and that. So you can definitely make sure that you go to our support page. If you especially are a user of PBIS Rewards, please go to our support page. It's support.pbisrewards.com. Videos, guides. You can set up a chat with someone on our fabulous support team. You can call them, you can email them. There's even a wonderful series that you can actually get PD credit for by going through and looking at a lot of the guides in a pathway called our Explorer series. So it's just a wonderful place to really go if you want to go a little bit deeper in your own time, in your own way, with PBIS Rewards specifically. So definitely check out our support page to learn a little bit more and go a little bit deeper than what we're able to go as far as the PBIS Rewards system is concerned today. And there's Jill. Some of you may already know her if you've ever done a chat or a phone call with support. Jill is one of our just sensational support team members. And so, like we said, you are not in this alone. You've got a support page, you got support people, you got us, you know, training with you if you need help or have concerns. So you are not alone. You need help, we got you covered.
So we are going to provide you the bit.ly link next. And this has all of those resources that we have talked about. And again, please feel free to scan this with your phone. It'll take you right there and you can save that. link that we're also going to put in the chat for you. So this has all the resources that you can download. We will also put a link to the recording, and the PowerPoint will be in that same link. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. If there's anything you need, it is right there for you. And that is something that also, if you're working with your PBIS team, please feel free to share that so that they can also access that information. Thank you, India. So we just want to thank you for coming today, and we would love some feedback from you by completing this survey. We do really take all of that feedback to heart, and we even yesterday, right after our session that ended a little bit after 5, we went in and started looking at that feedback and seeing what could we make as far as improvements for next week, and then ways that we can really improve it for everybody. So all of these trainings, we really take that feedback to heart. So please feel free to scan this for us. And it's really short, maybe 7 or 8 questions. And we would love for you to be able to tell us what you enjoyed. And then any suggestions that you have, we are definitely open to that. So lastly, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. We finished a little bit early, so that is a record for us. That almost never happens. So we are going to stay on for sure and answer questions if you have it. We're definitely here to help. But please know that we appreciate everyone and thank you for being here and joining us today. We hope this provided you some great insight as to how to use PBIS rewards better. And if you're not a customer with us yet, we hope that this helped give you some more information about how incredible the product really is, and we're really proud to be a part of it. India or Kara, I'm going to kick it over to you for a second.
Sure. So I was just going to say we have about 10 minutes that we were scheduled to be here. And so we would love to take this opportunity that if you have a question that we didn't address, or you were like, man, I wish they would have talked about this, or I'm wondering if other schools are doing something like this, now's your time to ask. So you can either unmute if you're brave, or you can just put it in the chat and we will see if we can address it out loud. Or if lots of you start typing really quickly, I'll jump in there and see how fast I can answer your question. So does anybody have something that you think, man, I wish they would have talked about this, or I was really hoping to walk away with more information? You can put it in the chat or you can unmute.
Yes. Or we can even show you something in the system again. If you want us to get back in and show you something, we're happy to do that too.
Don't leave without a question with a question. Like, please don't do that. We'd love to help you.
Absolutely.
So somebody's asking about other trainings being full that they wanted to get in. So India, while I'm talking, will you put our email in the chat? So you can email us directly, training@pbisrewards.com. And there's a second training. So we allowed 250 slots per training, and they were filling up very quickly. And so if you want to get in there, and you haven't, just send us an email and we'll work with you and see if we can sneak you in the backside. And then Anna, do you think you could share your screen on the resource page and kind of show them what's on there and highlight kind of things that you put that you shared today so they know what they're looking for, please?
Absolutely. Let me go to that. So when you go to the bit.ly for the resources, you'll see at the top, it has the session names listed. And so that's how it's grouped, is by the different sessions. So this is the first one that we did that was called Train the Trainer, about launching your school. So if you want more information about that, that is going to be right here. We have the links listed at the top, and then the resources are going to be listed underneath that. So you can see there are some resources and links here. And then in that same session, we did part of it based on professional development with PBIS rewards. And so there's links here and resources. So you can click on these links anytime it turns to a hand. Those are going to be resources that you can download. And there are pictures so that you can see what those documents look like. And then here is the recording of that session right here. So yesterday we did the next session. You can see there's kind of a little dividing line. It's real faint, but hopefully you can see it. Here, the next session we did is on the virtual environment. Here are the links and the resources. So I'm gonna go through those. And then I'm going to get down to today's, which are some, we didn't really have links today. We really had more resources for you. So here are the resources for today. There's our lesson plan template that's blank, you're welcome to use. And then our behavior reinforcement schedule, our completed example, and then our template that you can utilize to fill in India's behavior specific praise words. And then here's the PowerPoint from today that you can download. And then we will have the link right here to the recording from today. Will be listed. We'll probably have that done by the end of the day today.
Thank you for sharing that. All right, what else? If you don't need anything else, you're welcome to sign off. Just thank you so much for showing up and participating with us. Please fill out that feedback survey. We hope to see you next week. And if not, have a great holiday season. Does anybody else have anything you want to quickly unmute? You get it through email. Yes, you'll get all the resources through email. Absolutely. You'll get it probably by the end of this week, first of next week, but you should get it in the next few days.
And I'm going to put that bit.ly link one more time in the chat, so it'll be right there toward the bottom. If you have not clicked on it and favorited it yet, please do so. It's got all the goodies, y'all. Hold on.
Any other final questions? Is there a training video that we can send to all of our teachers to acclimate them to PBIS or PBIS Rewards?
Whatever this is called.
PBIS Rewards. We do have a couple short videos. If you will,
Yeah,
do
I
you
can go
have
to
quick
that.
access, or we can email them?
Yeah, I can go to the support site.
And
Okay.
even on the bit.ly, we did include a very short 9-minute demo that is amazing. And it shows basically the whole system in like less than 10 minutes, how to utilize it, what to do. But there's also great videos on the support site that you can share with your staff. Also, if you have not had an opportunity to sign up for the Train the Trainer class we're doing during this December training blitz is really good to give you everything that you would want to do to be able to share not just PBIS, but PBIS Rewards specifically with your staff. So if you haven't registered for the one this next week and you really want to get in, email us at training@pbisrewards.com. We'll hook you up.
Okay, I think I did sign up for it.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. So that will give you a PowerPoint you can use. It has links to videos and everything too. But Anna's going to show you something right now that's also helpful you can get to right now.
Sure. So Douglas, this is on our support site and it's called Staff 101. And so you can search for it up in the search guide, but it just helps walk your staff through understanding PBIS Rewards, logging in, creating groups. You can see it's really organized on just those really basic parts of PBIS Rewards. And they're also in the same order that we would suggest you present that to them, kind of breaking it up into chunks. We don't suggest doing everything because it's just too much in one sitting. And so this is a great one for teachers. We also have an admin 101 that's very similar that takes you through that same process for PBIS leaders.
And I would also mention in that resource link we just gave you, that bit.ly, there's a train the trainer session that we did that comes with the PowerPoint, that if you are rolling this out brand new to your staff and you're wondering, where should I start? How should I do this? It's really good and it will help you train your staff. And it's right there. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's up one. It's up one more. Sorry.
How do you do this?
Train the trainer is right here.
There you go.
Yeah.
And there's a PowerPoint. The actual PowerPoint is in there as well. So
Yes.
So I'm in the PBIS Rewards site. And so how do you do a search? Because you said, it's not student search, no. Because you said search for staff 101.
Right. so you'll need to go to our support page. I'm gonna go there just 1 second. So this is if you are on PBIS Rewards, and then we're gonna come all the way over here to support. It's on the very far right-hand side.
And I just closed the link with all those open. While he's finding that, we do have a question about the virtual matrix. If you could show that again and talk a little bit more about that.
Yes. And Douglas, this will take you right here to this link, the support site.
Can't get there.
I'm gonna go back one. Sorry, once I click that, it's right, the link is right here. It says visit our support site. And Carrie, you said something about the virtual matrix?
Mhm.
Yes,
Going back to the
Okay.
matrix.
All
I
right.
have a link for, I'm gonna put this right here.
Yes, and I was also going to say, we can add, if anyone does need like the matrix examples of them,
Mhm.
we do have two of them. One that just like Anna showed earlier, that just has remote added as a location to your regular matrix. And then we also have one that's all for total virtual learning. So I'm not sure, I don't think we have that included in the resource, but we can
I
add
can
it.
add it today. That's no
Yeah.
problem. I'll add
So
those.
that way you guys can have them.
Sure.
You can see two examples. One that's just the remote added as a location to your regular one, and then one that's just all for a virtual learning environment. We'll put those examples onto the Bitly. We'll add it today.
Yep, I will get it. We'll do that. No problem.
And I did put that link there for the support page. It says support.pbrewards.com webinars. That has everything in there as well. So you can see this, the admin 101, staff 101.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, we're down to the last 2 minutes. Anybody have anything else we can help you with, or that you were hoping? You can message me privately so no one will know, and I'll just announce it like I have been. So
Well, we definitely want to thank everyone for being here today and taking part in our training. Like we said, we have office hours tomorrow, actually, if there's
Oh,
anyone
that's right.
who'd like to join us for those, and we can talk a little bit more in depth about some other things, show you some things in the system. So you all can help me with the times again, Anna, if they do want to join us, they can go, well, they can go to our website. Let's put the website.
it's 10 to 11 Central
Okay.
Time and 1 to 2 Central Time. So you can just pop in for 5 minutes, or if you're curious what everybody else is asking and saying, you're welcome to stay for the whole time. And it's not a hard cutoff at 11. People are still asking questions. We're happy to help, just make sure that everybody gets their needs addressed.
And what I will do too, I will